Great.
Hey everyone, welcome to India HR Live, a live video TV channel for the HR professionals. Well, I'm so excited. Last week was so much knowledge and so much lessons to learn, and we had a fantastic, what would I say, feedback that we have received last week. Abhijit Paduri, as you know, the author of three famous books, and he has mentioned about India HR Live as a social learning platform in one of the conferences at Bangalore, that is SNC 2013 hashtag. So if you can have a look up, that would be great. And other than that, we had our IT and social folks. They are so much energetic. They're so much enthusiastic. I'm so excited to see you all interacting on Twitter and tweeting all the lessons that you learn from our platform. So without further ado, let's talk to our guest. We have a wonderful guest that is from my own hometown in India, that is Kerala. So I'm so excited to talk to him. Well, actually, I met him on Twitter, and then I took that kind of a relationship further forward, and then here we go. Anish Aravind. Hey, Anish, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a ton. It's great to be here. It's one more online friendship getting into. I mean, we're not reached the IRL stage yet, but just keep it virtual. But great to be here, and looking forward to learning together.
Great. We're so delighted to have you here over India HR Lab and sharing your valuable insights about workplace flexibility. And congratulations to Arbitrum for winning the best award for workplace flexibility. So, great. So, tell us a little bit about you, about your organization, and what you do at your organization.
Okay, let me start with a brief about myself. I've been in human resources, taken that as a career after my post-graduation in '99. So that this would be my 15th year in this particular career. Been with this particular company for the last close to 6 years now. In January, I'll complete 6 years, and let me go get directly into the context of the situation which gave us the opportunity to put this practice in place. And when we came in 2008, this was the opportunity we had was to set up a product IT shop for a media measurement company in Cochin. So it being a tier 2 city, there was the opportunity or the ability to attract talent to staff the center was the key determinant of our success. So that was if for the purpose of this context, I would say that was a business problem for that HR faced in back then, so almost 6 years back. So I know there are a lot of students who might log into this. So so now when you approach a subject, look at the business problem first, and then look at because you don't start off in trying to implement the best HR practice. I mean, I remember on this that there's something that I heard about innovation and joke. I mean, they just put that here to bring in more or explain this rather. It's like a joke. You don't laugh at the beginning of the joke, right? It's the same goes for a best practice. You don't know that there's going to be a best practice coming up, but you try to understand the business situation and you design a solution. And for us, it was we are in a tier 2 city, so we're not a big brand. Nobody knew even what media measurement means in India. There are very few players around the entire industry itself. So, and our target is software engineers and software people, testers, developers, and business analysts, whatnot. So that category usually works in companies who are mostly in the IT services side. That's how India and the IT industry has grown over the last 20, 25 years. So we've got to go to these people and say we are a media measurement company. So the first question would be, what is media measurement and what does it got to do with software? So the attracting of talent was the biggest problem. So the practice that we looked at was, what are some of the things that employees would look at when they're coming to a tier 2 location, and what are some. So for that purpose we had conducted a say internal survey as well, to look at what has kept people in a particular company. The company is a 60-plus-year-old company then. So what has kept people with us? So what are the best practices, or what are things that is already known about the company in the US, which we can customize in there. So some of these things, and also looked at the southern part of the country. What are those things that better, say, companies in Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad are doing? So flexibility did come up, or the freedom part. Because this is a very creative field. So if you want to unleash creativity, you have to give freedom to employees. So that's how so attracting talent was the objective, and we let out we set out going in for various approaches to help in the same objective. So does that give the context, or uh, is there a.
That's pretty great to you really set the stage in order to start. As you said, more about the freedom to the employees. Well, I can still see there is an old school when we talk about flexibility, very particularly in say. But before we get to that, I would like to hear what are some of the obstacles that you have faced or during that initial stage of implementing this workplace flexibility at your organization. What were some of the obstacles that you had faced, and how did you tackle that?
Oh, good question. In fact, one of the very common things that came up was when anything that we looked at, saying that, okay, this is not possible with us. We are small. It might work only in books. It's all philosophy. It's not practical. People wouldn't be able to understand the concept. They will misuse. So the lot of that was the biggest thing, which I mean, not just the entire team had to face, because they have. So this is a complete teamwork. So it's not just the HR. There was formative members. There was the finance head. There are members in the management team. There were about 7 or 8 of us then in 2008 who set out, and so that was one part. So I think looking back, once the communication of this whole say strategy, if you can make it in very, very simple language and manner, the concept has to be communicated in a very, very simple manner. That is when people would be able to relate to the concept. So if I were to answer the question, and how did we look at tackling it, is our attempt has been to explain it in a simple manner. It took various approaches, and when people realize that, okay, there is see, in every obstacle, if you understand there's a lot of empathy required. So you go and say, okay, you put yourself in that person's shoes and say, what are the reasons why this obstacle is being set up, and why are they saying that it's not practical? um, Most situations it would be because we are not connecting, we or the person who are proposing is not connecting to um, there's an acronym that we use at WIIFM, or what's in it for me.
Okay.
So if you're able to connect to the what's in it for me of every stakeholder involved, then that means that's the best, or that's the level that you can reach in an empathy situation. So you're speaking for them, so you understand their problem well, and that is also for young HR professionals. We would say that is almost like understanding the business itself. So that means for to understand their business problem, you need to first understand the business. So if somebody says that no, for this particular manner of people, say category of people would not be excited by flexibility, I don't think it is an IT industry or any particular industry alone. The freedom concept is very powerful. I mean, if employees or rather anyone, let's say people feel that, let's look at kids, how I mean, because I have two boys at home who, if you allow them to just let loose, I mean, they'll come up with some amazing stuff. So it's the same concept. It's everywhere. So that's say I would say I can't claim to be have been all successful in the initial communication ourselves. So we made our mistakes, stumbled, then realized that we need to fine tune, make it simple. I think that's the lesson. Make communications very simple. Use technology to reach out. There are various options. Social media is one of them. Um, Email is the worst thing. So if there's something to be communicated, email is the last option. There should be in person connect socially. So that's been our
Well, that's
learning.
great. As you talk more about the communication aspect plus the freedom. So let's go back to my thought process that I had in the beginning, as you said, when talking about communication and talking about freedom. Well, there is still, I can see there's still an old school happening. Like flexibility is a concept that is managed by managers to manage people, not the work. So I can see they're focusing on the wrong aspect. They're not focusing on the, what would I say, outcome or the results or what they should measure in terms of flexibility. When it comes to flexibility and when it comes to giving an atmosphere for their employees to really elevate their skills and contribute to the business. What would you say?
You brought in an important factor there, Nisha. You mentioned the word measure. If so I'd like to tell a bit on that. See, when you set any new practice, you will have to have a the when you communicate, you should be able to articulate the result in and the measures of that result. Now, going back to let's say you say that okay, it's the manager's way of managing people, but the work will not happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then the problem would have been that if you're facing such a situation, that means the work itself is not well defined. Maybe
Exactly.
so that means yeah, but the response would be I already have a job description, and I mean people who worked in the industry for maybe around a couple of years would know how different the job description is and what real work would be. So that means that the what needs to be done, there are the right measures in place. As long as the right measures are in place and that is communicated in a simple enough manner, I don't think we would have any problem getting the desired results from anyone. So mostly the trouble that happens in situations and that we face in workplace is that the goals are not communicated properly. So and usually it is an annual appraisal in most of the companies. There are very few Indian companies, I would say less than 25% now would have a quarterly or a say biannual appraisal. So that means it's a year later that you sit with your supervisor and say, oh, did you do this? Did you do this? And the guy would say, or the employee would say, oh, well, I didn't know I was supposed to do this. So that's when so they would say, oh, this performance appraisal is really bad. Is it how it is done, or what is it? This is all crazy. So as long as you have the measures in place of the work that is required, um, then the flexibility will be a pure enabler. And just to bring in some of the other aspects, it cannot be on its own. There are aspects. Let's say in our case, it has been flexibility. We use technology to the core. I mean, all employees there were investments in laptops for our employees, for say smartphones, for laptops, for computers, for everything. So
Yeah, that's true.
That's one,
As
because those are so there are, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. There was a little bit of a delay in streaming this video, so I just talked about your thoughts on yeah, some of the measurement aspect, as you said. Yeah, this is true, and as you said, it's really important to communicate to your employees what is expected out of them, and after that, what's in it for them. What are the rewards that they can get? And especially when we are here to talk about flexibility. And I can see managers are still focusing on the wrong aspect. It's all about it. They're focusing on the time and that employee puts in the work. Oh, they are going for lunch for so much time. They're taking so much time out of work, and they're going early from the office, or they are coming late to the office. They are not um, on time, or they're talking to their colleagues. So they're actually focusing on the wrong aspect instead of focusing on the right things. That is about giving the freedom or giving the ownership to their employees to really take control of their job, but not lose any kind of a deadline or not lose any kind of an outcome or results that we would expect from them, right?
Absolutely. I think the I wouldn't say the managers are not aware of this. I think it's again a question of communication to them as well. They are the key stakeholders, and if the leaders or their leaders or their supervisors are able to explain their what's in it for me as well correctly to them, then I wouldn't think any manager or any people leader for that matter would miss this impact. And see, here, let's take an example. Here, you are assuming that I have, say, two people, and they can, let's say, produce 10, say, pieces of work in a day, or 10 if it's in a manufacturing example. Now, the real potential of this person may be to do maybe even 50, but you're restricting it to 10. But if you
Yeah.
excite the person well good enough, and then unleash the person's own creativity, maybe the person gets to maybe 25 at first, and then maybe reach 50.
Hmm.
But the scientific method would say, oh, this guy can do only say 10 a day. Now that can be very wrong in some manner. So this is the so you explain the problem. So our approach has been to explain the goal in such a manner that if I were to explain, if I were to take an example, say if you need to go from here to Mumbai, you would say, okay, the goal is to go from here to Mumbai, but how to reach there is entirely up to you.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
it has to say, and the timelines are also given. Okay, this is so that is when the employee. So you take a say you need to hire say 100 people by say 6 months or 3 months.
Hmm.
Now, how do you do that is entirely up to those set of people
Yeah.
whom you're charging. So they would look at what is the latest methodologies to hire, what are the so is social media the one to go, is LinkedIn the place, is Twitter or consultants, referrals. So and it can be that context can be different from different companies. So um, empowerment is another thing in the whole piece. So freedom and then empower people and then and show and you're unleashing their creativity and that's also a good way to engage people. You don't need to find another method for engagement if you're able to crack this piece well. So I mean they did kind of get well. I can see some questions coming in as well. I don't know if you
It
the
is, yeah. So, to our audience, if you have any questions to our guest, tweet your questions to India HR Line with the hashtag India HR Line. And yeah, the next question, the first question is from Kunjal. He's asking, as you said, the
on the
same
spot
point. Do you
I'm
think,
on the spot.
apart from great policies, managers should be empowered to be flexible? So,
I'm sorry, can you repeat
yeah,
that
the
please?
same question as you just described it a little bit about the environment. So Kunchal is asking the same question. Do you think, apart from great policies, managers should be empowered to be flexible?
Yeah, I think I covered that with saying that the managers, once they understand the importance of what flexibility is giving to them, if you're empowering an employee, and that gives, they're looking at their primary target is delivery. They'll say, okay, this is business deliverables. It has to be done in certain manner. Um, and usually the connection between business delivery and the influence that flexibility can have on that business delivery is not very well understood initially. So that requires some level of simple communication. Um, so managers are also very, very you hire better good people. So, and you need to give them the required level of empowerment. Don't be putting them into situations where you're um, always on top of them, saying that, okay, what do you, because that's the example I use, saying that if you tell them the goal, like this is what you need to hire. You need to hire 100 people in say 3 months. That's the goal. And hire people whom you so at the hiring level, put enough effort to make sure that you get in people who will acclimatize well with your culture, the kind of environment that you have in the company. Then give them the freedom. If you are restricting them, Kunjal has a good point, saying that if managers should be empowered. If you don't empower them, then you will end up say concentrating your efforts on a lot of areas by the say giving them step-by-step instructions, and then that's not creativity, because just because one person has hired say 100 people in a particular manner, that may be 5 years back, or it's a different context. So I'm using more of HR examples here because there's be a lot of HR folks on this call. But
Yeah,
the manner the approach is the same in any function.
yeah, which is actually great as you talked about the role of HR. Well, I can see you. There is a little bit of changes happen at your organization nowadays. Arbitron India is moved into Nelson. So, what I can think at this point is like, there are a lot of changes happening at an organization. New leaders are
Mhm.
coming up. So, but then still there is a flexibility program or flexibility initiative as a practice is there at your organization. But how do you get these new leaders on the same page of your organization's culture as from a flexibility point of view?
See, if you're talking about the recent developments for internal folks, that'll take some more time for it to see what's really going to happen there. It's too early in the day for that. But for us, we are in an advantage right now because some of these things are not seen as a special stuff here at the company now, because some of these have been around for some time. And that's one good, in fact, thing I want to mention to some of the students and younger crowd out there, saying that any practice, you might call it as best practice once you get these awards and all, but for the employees involved, that practice will remain special only for about 6 months, sometimes even 3 months. So after that, it's no longer special for them. So as HR professionals or managers or people leaders, you will have to continue to raise the bar on your own, and don't let somebody else come and push up the bar for you. I mean that's one way of. So in our case, people have already got acclimatized on this level, and for them, if I think if you ask somebody about particular things that we have presented, they say, "Oh, this is pretty normal here." So that's what we that are most likely to hear. But if we take some of those things out, that's going to be let's say we stop some of those things, saying that okay, now tomorrow onwards I'm going to check your attendance daily or something like that comes up. Then there's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Till then, it is see we have all our employees have rather free access to internet. So that was a great thing for first year. But after that, so everybody, oh, what's so great about it? Every company they feel may have it, but although say this part of the world that is not true, but still it's for people who are enjoying. Um, that particular thing, it becomes part of their life. So that's how I would say, how from a say, as long as we're able to excite employees to look at the new business scenario that we are going to face now with the new developments, and they're able to contribute to succeeding in that business scenario, I don't think we'll have a problem.
Great. And the next question is from Himanshu Kapadia. He's asking, how does one quantify the benefits of implementing flexibility initiatives at work?
Okay, let me run through, because this in this particular piece, some of the matrices that SHRM had, SHRM India had to when we submitted our uh, say nomination.
Mhm.
Let me go through that, because that would be understood easier for us. Um, See, attrition was one. That was one metric that we used. Attrition. We've never had. It's always been between say 5 to 15%. Right now, it's just touching about 12. Um, uh, and the context there is, for the last 9 months or so, there's been a lot of says the there's been some bit of uncertainty around in the thing about what our future would be, but still the attrition has come down. So if you look at, so that's one measure which SHRM also had. Then ability to attract
Mhm.
people. If you go back to the context, I said the talent attraction was the best bet, the main objective. And right now, 50% of our hiring comes through employer referrals. So and our selection process is a bit tough. And in fact, it takes our selection ratio, if you can use that metric, is about 5 to 10%. So that means when you see about 100 people, we're very happy if we end up getting to 5 to 10 people. So that's the ratio. So with that level, and the same process works for employer referral as well. It's not that because an employee referred, that person will go through a easier selection process. No, in fact, it goes through a tougher selection process. So and one more aspect is that we've been participating in external surveys. Great Place to Work being the one which I can mention here. And there is in the GPTW format, there is a flexibility score there, and our flexibility score has been 99 percentile. So these are the things that now I can fairly say that these were the things that got us the award. So um, these are some of the matrices that you can use, which is relevant to the business.
Great. I want to stop by one point that you just said right now. The employee referral. That's going to be a tough interview for them. Why is it so?
I'm sorry, a tough interview.
Yeah, the
When you
candidates
said,
that are
oh,
coming
I
from
mentioned, yeah, okay.
tough
So
selection process for the candidates that are coming from the employee referral program. So why that is so tough, or why is this different from the normal candidate? Why that interview process is different from a normal candidate that are coming in?
the entire company is spread over, let's say, 2 floors. So that means there's a lot of there are chances that the interviewer or might already know this person, and because of this nature of the company, the size being so small. So to prevent any of those biases coming in is what we have, the OE team ensures that there are interviews done by multiple levels people, and of course culminated by a culture check by the OE. That is so, which might not be so stringent in case of a external hire who would not come. So that's the difference. The key point here is that I would have say exaggerated that one a bit, because to say that it is easy to get employer referral. It is actually not easy to hire
Yeah.
through employer referral. So it is not for the sake of a metric that we're saying that. And in fact, it came down from 70% at one time. Um, because we've had some of our recruitment partners whom we've also, it has to be a win-win for them as well, because we're not so we kind of kept it down. Say so it's a but 50 is a good number, so we need to remain that. And obviously there's a lot of advantages. We get better, we get reduced induction time, better acclimatized people coming in. They would already know about the culture from their people who are referring them. So that, in
Okay.
that sense, it helps.
Well, which is so great, as you said, like employee referral can get so fast, but it is really important to get a right fit to your organization from the
Absolutely.
referrals itself. So there is one question that I wanted to ask you with the question that has already come up on Twitter. What leads to better engagement and empowerment at work? Is it flexibility or is it freedom?
Okay, flexibility, I would say, is a subset of freedom for us, and that's how we have implemented it. So the intention was to provide freedom in an accountability centered environment. So it doesn't stay separate. Freedom with accountability. Uh, in a flexible environment. That's how, I mean, that's how it works. So it can't stay separate like that. It's a mix. So I would say the philosophy is freedom. So one of the subsets of freedom can be flexibility and whatnot. There are other ways. I mean, it's so we have say selected this particular flexibility aspects and invested in a lot of other integrated efforts to provide those things. Our policies are also integrated. It's not just that okay, we say okay, we're looking at flexibility. That the normal HR policies also should be connected in such a manner that it enables the flexibility, and not just okay, flexibility and then the people should understand what it is and take it forward. No, that doesn't work. So that didn't pass the test of that simplicity which I mentioned. So, and by the way, I mean, it's a continuous journey. We just because we've got the award, it doesn't mean that we stop practicing anything. Now we move on to, so we are learning even now. So there may be better ways in which we can implement it as we go forward. I mean, we're
That
open
is
to
so
that.
awesome. That is so awesome. The next question is from Varsha. She's asking how to limit flexibility at work so that it does not go against the productivity.
Against productivity.
Yeah. How do you
Okay, so
limit flexibility at work so that it does not go against productivity?
I wouldn't link those two directly. Once, see, you have the right measures in place for productivity and the results that you want to achieve. Once you have the right measures, that means make sure that if that is achieved or not. Once you, so to go back to my example, as long as you said, okay, 3 months, 100 people to be hired, as long as that 100 people is hired in 3 months, the how part is left to the creativity of the hiring team, right? So that is what you would want by productivity, right? If the hiring team did not do that in 3 months, then there's a productivity issue. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered her. It's a so the question would, I would assume that there's a doubt that okay, well, there is still a doubt in her mind, maybe that okay, there is you need to limit it, but there is no limit to creativity either, right? So if you want the employee to bring out their 100 or 200%, wouldn't you want to give that freedom? And
Exactly.
this is a place where you see there are no fixed things. There can be multiple ways a code can be written, which or a test can be put in such a manner that it enables the business result. Once that is there and you have the right measures in place, I would still go back to the word again, measurement is more important. And so you have the right measures for the results in place, then don't try to limit that. So you measure, make sure that the results are happening. I'm sure the first sign of the results not happening, you will have all your radars going up. So let that be the check and not the approach to have a limit in the first place. Because
Yeah.
if you attempt a limit, uh, then it would be taken as an attempt to sabotage the entire process. They're saying that okay, this is fine, but you can't do this.
It's
So
actually dictating.
yeah, so yeah, a good word. I think that will be construed as
Yeah.
then that's not creativity. You are not asking the person to come out with the means. It is like, say, you go to Mumbai, only buy second class AC or second class rail fare. That's it. No other option.
Wonderful. So it's all about telling your team what to do, not how to do. So,
Yeah.
Anish, I'm
In
taking
a
one
simple
more
manner.
back.
Sorry.
What is it?
In a simple manner.
In a
Don't
simple manner. Yeah, that
complicate.
makes
Yeah.
really sense. That makes sense for your employees. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take one more last questions. We are running out of time at this point. Shamik Wara, he is asking, why do we need office? Can we not just live with meeting place? Or so let's relate this to, giving flexibility to those employees who are going to telecommute. So how do you manage these employees that are going to telecommute?
See, we don't have very many cases there, but people who do take that don't do it for a longer period of time. It is usually, at least this is from a very Indian context that this answer is being attempted here, that we would want to be associated with one a group or a culture, or we I would say most of us. I mean, there'll be specific situations in our life which would want which we would require maybe somebody who has an illness for a particular period of time, or maybe things like maternity, or there's an illness in a family member which requires us to be around. Those are the cases where the flexibility options help us. Somebody who's a student who's just passed out, come into the work, wouldn't look at these major things as flexibility as an option. They would not be the real needy folks here. So once that say demarcation is made, then you wouldn't need that say a separation required at all there. So that's my take on it. So
Great, Anish. Well, it's been a fantastic conversation with you, Anish, and I'm really it's an honor from my end to meet every single one of them that I met on social media, and taking that next step to have that real time connect, even though it's virtual. It makes a real excitement for me. So, a last question to our special audience that we have from IT and Social Business School. What are your words of wisdom to those young and upcoming HR professionals to excel in their career?
oh, okay. I would say spend a lot of time reading about what's happening around you. Don't choose any particular subject. Go really outside the textbooks that you have. There are a lot of options around now. The internet is there. Just get into blogs is one good way of concise say information that comes from Twitter is one. So I would say the use social media really well, because there's a lot of information right there. I've gone for 3-4 days without going through newspapers, because you get a lot of these, say, capsule format of news on Twitter and Facebook, and so that means that and try and start in those 2 years that you're in the curriculum. Try and cultivate this habit of understanding businesses that you see across. So group yourself into, let's say, 5 or 10, and start looking at industry wise. By the time you pass out, you have a good information of say business knowledge already there, and you can share and learn. And when you start choosing the company that you work for, that um, uh, bag of knowledge, if I may call, would give you a good advantage while selecting the choice of career and the right profile. So all the best to
Wonderful.
them.
Wonderful. Well, Anish, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing your valuable
My pleasure.
insights and experiences at your company and how to manage flexibility at your organization. So, to our audience, stay tuned at indiahrlive.com to know who is going to show up next week and what are the topics that we are going to discuss. And a big shout out to Abhijit Bhadury for mentioning India HR Live at SNC 2013 conference. And big shout out to IT and social folks for making this show such an interactive session, and to each and every single one of them for your Twitter feeds and social shares. Thank you so much for all of you. Stay tuned. Talk to you all next week.
Thank you, Nisha.